Greetings, Ben Murray here with another edition of SaaS Metrics School. Welcome. So today's episode, am I ready for debt financing to fuel growth in my business or use this as a general source of capital? So debt financing is a hot space in SaaS. So many debt financing companies popping up to provide debt to SaaS companies specifically. And the nice thing is they understand the SaaS model if they're targeting SaaS companies. So you don't have to explain how this works, recurring revenue, how you're going to pay it back, what are the important metrics for SaaS companies? So, hot space right now, and talk to a lot of founders, work with a lot of founders who are considering debt financing. So, one, are we ready for this? Well, step one always is, do we have our finances in order? I cannot answer that question for a founder. Should we take on debt financing, debt capital, without having an understanding of my financial profile? Do I have my SaaS P&L set up? Do I know my gross profit? Do I know my OPEX profile? What's my EBITDA? What's my cash flow? So very important to have that set up first, our SaaS P&L. Then I need my forecast in place. What cash flows are we producing right now? What our metrics look like? Where is the business trending? If we're trending down, well, this could be a tough call to bring on debt finance. Are we trending up and feel like we're going to have cash flow capacity to pay off this debt? So important. We have to understand our financial profile work. Otherwise, I'd say do not take on debt that could be potential disaster if you don't know where your business is going. Next step is, what are the basic terms of that debt? So what's the payoff schedule? Are we paying this back in a year, which could really constrain our cash flow or put pressure on our cash flow? Is it 2 years, 3 years? Is it 5 years? So we have to understand that duration of that payback schedule. And then, of course, the cost of money. So that cost of capital. Is it costing us 10% annually, 15% annually, 20+% annually? And you'll see a lot of these debt providers use the term discount rate, and they'll say, hey, 10% discount rate, but that doesn't translate into your annual cost of capital. So make sure you ask that provider, okay, I see that discount rate, but what does that translate into the cost of money? What's my annual interest rate, effective interest rate that I'm paying on this cost, on this debt? So we have to understand the basic terms of the debt, and are there covenants, restrictions, how onerous is that the terms and conditions with this debt? Next step is the big step. Can our cash flow support the payment schedule? So if we're producing break even cash flow right now and we want to take on debt, well, that's going to be hard unless we know our revenue is trending up and our cash flow is trending up. But if we have nice EBITDA margins, we have nice cash flow where we can absorb the debt payments, then maybe we're in good shape. But that's where we have to forecast and have to layer in that payment schedule to make sure it aligns with our cash flow schedule that we can pay it off. And then finally, we think of debt as just a cost, but you think about that investment and what are we going to do with that? What's that ROI that we expect with that debt? And this gets back to the cost of ARR. And if we're using debt to finance growth, say we're going to invest in sales and marketing, this is where the cost of ARR comes into play. For every dollar, what does it cost me to produce $1 of net new ARR? So if I say take on debt of $1 million, how much ARR is that going to produce for me? So we're changing it into that ROI mentality versus just looking at this as pure cost. So I wanted to address debt today for SaaS companies because it's a hot space. A lot of founders looking at this, but first we must understand our financial profile, then understand the terms of the debt, and then can our cash flow support that payment schedule, and forecasting is so important. So again, if you find value in these episodes, I'd love a rating and review. Thanks a lot.